there's less than, I was just told this over the weekend, or during this past week, that there's less than 700 people who are fully vetted out on all the different programs, and they actually know the full scope of what is really going on. Less than 700 people on Earth. Obviously, there's a lot more people than that involved, but they live off planet or they're only in one compartment of something. They don't know the whole picture, but it's so tightly condensed. It's so tightly held, the stranglehold on this information, that here on Earth, there's only 700 people who actually, less than 700 people who actually know the full scope of what's going on. And we know some of them, thankfully. Love and Light just donated. Thank you very much for that. Have they admitted to bases on the moon and Mars? Where can I see this? Does anybody know? Well, they're not admitting to it. That's the point. This is proprietary stuff that they're not just going to come out with. And again, I think it's going to take many stages. The cosmic top secret clearance level, 35 levels of need to know above the President of the United States. I mean, wow, that's just huge. And so think about the implications of that much of a cover-up, and it is going to scare people. So yes, ontological shock, I would say absolutely. People being freaked out, yes, absolutely. But we got to take the good with the bad, and we got to try to find out where is this really going. So, okay, now we're going to get into, we're going to set up the paintings. That's the first thing we're going to be looking at. And we're going to talk again about my favorite subject, one of my favorite subjects, which is the Law of One series, where the Law of One reveals that positive extraterrestrials are using something called Bellcraft. And they actually materialize this with their consciousness. These ETs are so powerful that they're able to build things by a type of spontaneous telekinetic manifestation. Now, the words that they use are a little bit confusing, as they often are, to explain this, but I find it fascinating. Why is it called a Bellcraft? Well, you want to think of the bell that you would see on an office desk, something like this. This is the basic idea. And so this is very likely one of the George Adamski photos or somebody like him. It looks like it's in California. That terrain looks very familiar to me, like the California desert. And so this is the typical Bellcraft design with the 3 bumps on the bottom and that shape like a bell. So that's what they're talking about, which actually is very interestingly what the Germans built theirs to look like as well. So this one might be German, it might be extraterrestrial, but it's that basic design that we keep seeing again and again. We had another donation come in. Jabo says, think about the liability and anti-competition lawsuits that will happen when disclosure occurs. This could be a big reason it hasn't happened yet, and we will also need a new economic system. Yeah, I agree. Ding, ding, ding. That's right. Great show, David, says Charlie Winter. Do you think MJ-12 and other programs with civilian involvements will be disclosed? They very well could. I mean, we don't know where this is all going, but we certainly can speculate as much as we like. And so, yes, MJ-12, there's many of those documents from the early, 1950s, late 1940s that I think will see the light of day. And that will be a very exciting time for sure as we go through this process, as we keep on unfolding in this process. So that's your basic Bellcraft design as far as I can tell. So here's what they say in the Law of One. And again, this is a 6-dimensional source, so they say, that calls itself Ra. They appeared to the Egyptians as Ra, and their message was positive and ultimately Christian, but it got distorted and twisted around to the negative, as we've said so many times. It's not evil. They do say that their work was later co-opted by the negative and turned into a negative philosophy, having to do with Egyptian iconography and what we call the DS, but it didn't start out that way. They didn't want it to be that way. It just turned out that way, which they're very sad about, and they apologize for that in this work that they gave us. So that's all part of the story. The disc shape that we have called UFOs have possibly come from the planet Venus. That's one of the things that Adamski's contact said. He was apparently contacted in person. Yeah, I'm wearing sunglasses. Okay. Would any of these be your craft? And then we missed the first answer there, I guess. Oops. He says, we have used crystals for many purposes. So they're calling it a crystal. Isn't that interesting? The disc-shaped craft is a crystal. What does a crystal do? A crystal is something that crystallizes out of a medium. It forms out of invisible, dissolved molecules. It turns into something that's crystal. It's pretty freaking cool. That's the idea of materialization. The craft of which you speak have not been used by us in your space-time present memory complex. Right, so right in the present in 1981 when this was being said, they're not using them then, but they have in the past, and others of their groups have. However, we have used crystals in the bell shape in the past of your illusion. How many years ago in the past did you use your bell-shaped craft to come here? We visited your people 18,000 years ago and did not land. And again, 11,000 years ago. This is the Egyptian contact where they used the name Ra. And that goes back to Zep Tepi, the first time in Egyptian history that this is what was really happening. So anyway, okay. So, sorry. So Ross Feinstein says he's sorry he's been so sick these last 2 weeks. We're sorry that you've been sick, Ross, but thank you for being here anyway. We really appreciate your help. And we do want you to get well. So anyway, I think that's fine. Good things are happening all around. So again, these contacts are explained much more in the Law of One, that they wanted to help us, but they didn't realize that they might be able to do anything good by coming out in person until 11,000 years ago, and then that all went to crap too. Ended up leading to these bad things happening. But that's another discussion.